Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Showing Up to Your Life podcast and YouTube channel. My name is Art Burns. I'm super happy to be here with you today. And yeah, I'm a bit excited, for sure, a bit excited. And just really, you know what? I'm really just grateful, honestly. And I want to say that, I want to point that out. Before we get into what we're talking about here today, is that I want to express my gratitude to all of you who are listening right now. A lot of times this can feel and it can certainly seem like some sort of like a one-sided process, if you will, right? Like I'm just sitting here just yelling out to the great internet void out there and hoping that there's somebody who picks it up, but that's not really what it is, right? The reality is that I know that there are people listening out there, right? I know that there are people who are opening my emails every day. I know that there are people who are watching the videos, and that is part of this process, right? So you are included in the process of generating this content. And I want you to understand that, okay? Because without you there, my content would be much different, right? I might still do it, right? I might still have a Showing Up to Your Life podcast and YouTube channel, but it certainly would be different. Now, whether it will be better or worse or just a lateral difference kind of thing, nobody knows that, right? But the point is that it would certainly be different, which is to say that it is what it is because, at least in part, of you. And so thank you. And I really, really mean that. I thank you from the very depths of my heart that I'm just so grateful. So thank you, everybody, for being here. And thank you for watching and thank you for listening. So now, before we get into today's topic, another little announcement I just want to make. And I did mention this yesterday, and I want to just make sure that you all know about this, okay? I'm about to launch a group coaching program that's going to be just kind of, come as you are, drop in anytime you want kind of thing, okay? Each week, the details are yet to be determined. They're going to be there soon, okay? But each week, one evening a week, my plan is to host a group, Zoom meeting, basically, okay? And in this Zoom meeting, right, whether it's an hour long or 2 hours long, whatever it needs to be, right, it's going to be basically an opportunity for coaching. Okay. And and really what it's, I guess more accurately, it could be called a question and answer hour or a question and answer meeting, if you will. It's not going to be the kind of coaching where, okay, we're all going to start on this day and we're going to, go through 12 weeks together as a structured thing. That will be more of like a group coaching program. So this is going to be more of like a discussion group, if you will. Right. But I will be coaching during this discussion group. Right. And that's the thing, right? When people ask questions, and this really does tie into what we're going to talk about today. So please bear with me. The idea that, as we do these practices, right, it's not one size fits all. It never is one size fits all, especially given our society and the difference in the ways that we all live and the way that we all, make our way through this world and our backgrounds and our education and our responsibilities, our obligations, all that stuff, right? Now, it's much different when you go to a Buddhist center, a Dharma center, as they call it, and try to, just go there and learn, Buddhism and learn meditation through that kind of, environment, right? And the reason why that's different is because everybody's there because they're interested in Buddhism. Right. So there's this certain like baseline of sort of, okay, we all get it, right? We all know what the Buddha is, and we all know, what meditation is all about. And we all know like the purpose of why we're here kind of thing, right? And that's not true for everyone, right? If you were to take like the, like a pie chart of the entire world population and take out of that pie chart all the people who practice Buddhism, I mean, you're talking about just a very thin line there, right? A little wedge, a little tiny wedge, right? It is not the majority of the people by any stretch of the imagination, right? And so what that means The reason I'm bringing that up is because, in my work, right, I work with, ambulance drivers. I work with attorneys. I work with accountants. I work with mothers who are also solopreneurs. I work with people who work in assisted living facilities. I work with teachers. I work with just running through the different people. And the point that I'm making here, right, is that it's such a wide ranging sort of demographic, if you will, and that's not really the right way to use that word demographic, but I'm using it for lack of a better term, right? But there's no cohesiveness other than the fact that we're all feeling stress, and that stress may be coming from childhood trauma, or maybe it's adult trauma, but the point is, right, that it's all about stress, and that's the only thing that kind of combines us all, right? We're all trying to look for a way to improve whatever aspect of our life. Some people it's improving relationships. Some people it's improving clarity. Some people it's improving functionality and sort of optimizing themselves. Some people it's about better golf. It could be anything. And the point there is that what we're addressing is the ways in which stress and reactivity show up in our lives, right? Because they prevent us from showing up to our lives, right? And that's the whole point of this podcast, is that what we're looking at is whatever it is you do, right? Parents, doctor, teacher, lawyer, bus driver, whatever it is that you do, the stress prevents you from doing that thing fully, right? And even, technically doesn't even have to include stress so much, but even just not knowing knowing the tools and the methods prevents you from showing up to whatever it is that you do. And again, whether that's your income living, activity, or just being a spouse, being a parent, being a family member, just being a citizen of the world, right? And so that's why people come to me, because there's some way in their life in which it's just not showing up, right? And so therefore, it is much different from a, kind of Buddhist thing where we could say, okay, just come in every week and we're just going to teach you, Buddhism over the course of the next however many weeks, right? It's just not going to work that way because we're coming from such a wide-ranging thing. And so getting back to the original reason I brought this up, which is the practice, right? Because, in Buddhism, right, again, if everybody's coming to a Buddhist center, right, they all come with the understanding that I have to do, 10 minutes or 20 minutes a day of formal meditation, right? Like that's what it means to be a practicing Buddhist, right? And I'm here at the Buddhist center because I want to become a practicing Buddhist. That is not the same for all of us. It wasn't the same for me when I learned about mindfulness, and it's not the same for most of you, right? We're just here because we are in all these disparate, ways of life, and we're all just trying to, figure out a way to manage ourselves and to show up and to really be present instead of just trying to get through our lives, right? And so for this reason, not everybody's coming into this saying, okay, I'm going to commit to doing 20 minutes of formal meditation every day. Most people are incapable or just, I don't mean to say incapable in the sense like you're, physically or emotionally not able to do it, but incapable from the standpoint of life just you don't have room for it in your life right now. Right. And so that's the point of this drop-in sort of model of the coaching that I'm intending to do here, which is, knowing that everybody's coming at this with much different, understandings, much different capacity in their lives, which is more the word rather than capability. It's much more about a capacity that we have. Right. And so the reason I'm saying all this, right, is this is one of the longest invitations that you're ever going to get, right? But you, right, you who are listening, have your own challenges, that you're going to face when trying to get from the point of stress and reactivity where you are now to getting to the point of, calm and self-regulation and presence, right? Like I did many years ago, right? Like I made that journey, I made that transition, right? And so the point is though that the starting point is going to be different for everybody, right? And so that means, and not only the starting point, but again that capacity, right? So if I'm talking to a single mother, right, who has a history of childhood trauma and is working, more than a full-time job to make ends meet, well, guess what? I am never even going to bring up formal meditation to you. Not in the beginning, anyway. Number one, you don't have time for it. Number two, until we really kind of connect and understand that trauma a little bit, I'm not going to make you sit there alone with your trauma. That could be re-traumatizing to you, and I'm not going to do that to you. That would be very irresponsible of me. Right. And that's the point. Right. So come into this group session. Tell me a little bit about your life. And you don't have to tell me your trauma or anything like that. That's not, certainly I'm here to listen if you need somebody to listen, but that's not the point here, right? It's not therapy, it's coaching, right? I'm going to help you to develop tools you can use from this moment moving forward to gain a sense of control over your life a little bit, right? That's the whole point. And so again, if somebody's coming at me with that kind of, thing, like I'm a single mom, I work, 50 hours a week, 60 hours a week, and I have, trauma from my childhood, whatever kind of trauma that is, right? Well, okay, so for you then, we're going to work on a lot of informal practices, right? It's going to be just as simple as just, washing the dishes mindfully and taking a shower mindfully, driving your car mindfully. I'm going to approach it with all of these kind of practices, right? Whereas another person, right, might be a retiree and really doesn't have a lot going on in their life. Well, okay, then you are going to benefit. And also you're not, you've healed from whatever trauma or you never had any trauma, right? So for you, you're going to benefit from 20 minutes of self-guided formal meditation every day. And so I'm going to teach you that. Two different people, two completely different approaches, but the same result, okay? That's the key, right? The result for each of those people is going to be precisely the same, which again is the tools that you can use to manage your life, to be able to show up for your life and for all the people and all the things in your life, right? So I'm super excited about this. And if any of you are out there, because I know I've talked to a whole bunch of you. I have talked to many of you out there, right? And many of you have agreed that, wow, yeah, Art, this coaching sounds great. I would love to do it, but I just can't. I don't have the time, or I can't afford the finances, or what have you. Okay, so this could be a solution for you. Okay? And the beautiful thing is also that you don't have to come every week. You can come one week, get some understanding. Okay, now I got something to work with for work on for the next 2-3 weeks. Okay, we'll see you when you come back, or not. It's good, maybe you never have to come back. Maybe just 1 or 2 sessions, you're good to go. And I would love that. So this is an opportunity where you can come in, pay $10, $15. It's going to be like a suggested donation kind of thing. Get the understanding you need and go and apply it, right? And I'm always available. I'll always answer an email, always, okay? And I share my information and all my, I have a whole drive full of, meditations and scripts and all kinds of stuff. And I share that stuff willingly. It's in a public folder on my Google Drive. So if I have emailed this link to so many different people and they can email it to whoever and everyone can access this work. I am not proprietary about it. I'm not holding on to it because I want to make money. I'm a deadhead, so I'm all about, hey, bootleg tapes, just share them, spread them out, spread get more people to understand this. And guess what? The world becomes better. So please, 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 share, share, share. All right. So anyway, that's that announcement, but this does really kind of speak to what we're talking about today, right? Which is how do we develop a mindfulness practice? How do we develop a mindfulness practice and a compassion practice, right? And that's a significant question, right? I know it sounds kind of like, well, duh, but that's an important question to ask, and it really relates right back to what we were just talking about, what I was just telling you, right? Which is that we all come at this from a different standpoint. We all have different capabilities. We all have different capacities. We all have different goals. We all have different desires. We all have different, circumstances in our lives, which are all going to impact the practice. Every one of those things is going to impact the practice one way or the other. Some of them will be sort of balancing each other out. Some of them will be creating a lopsided balance. The point is that, again, you are you. You are not one of the other 100 or so people watching this right now, right? You are you. And the reason I say that is because, we have to work with you, right? You can only work the way that you are able to work. Now, again, understand the difference here, right? If somebody goes into a bookstore, because they want to become a Buddhist, they've already made a whole bunch of determinations and sort of, logistical, compromises and negotiations in their mind, so that when they walk into that Buddhist bookstore, they're determined to become a Buddhist. So when the book says, okay, do this thing, the person can be like, okay, I'll sit this way, I'll do this thing, right? But that's not necessarily true for you, right? You just want to be able to not yell at your kids so much, right? Or you just want to be able to play a better round of golf, or you want to have a better relationship with your spouse, or you want to be more functional and productive at work, right? Or you just want to get rid of this feeling of tension that you have all the time. Okay? And so for that reason, it's important. The way that we approach the practice is very, very important. Okay? And the reason I bring this up is because, yes, ideally, what we're looking at is somebody who is really practicing mindfulness and compassion, right? What that really looks like at the end, like somebody who's really established in it, it looks like a daily formal meditation, right? That, I usually use the number of about 20 minutes, right? Like technically, yeah, that's what we want to get to, ideally, right? And then also doing a number of what we call off the cushion practices, right? Which are going to supplement and complement the formal practice that you're doing, okay? And so that's the best practice, right? That's the ideal thing out there, right? That's like 20 minutes of a combination of mindful meditation and compassion practice, including compassion directed back towards ourselves, right? And then also, a number of practices that don't add any time to your day, but are ways in which you're practicing off the cushion, right? So that's sort of the best practice. That's sort of the gold standard, if you will, right? But that doesn't mean that it's that or nothing, right? That's the thing that I want to get away from. I want to get us out of that mindset of thinking like it's either I'm this perfect meditator or it's not worth doing. I got to look into something else. I got to go take medication instead or something like that to deal with my stress, right? Because it's not all or nothing. It is not a zero-sum game that we're playing here, okay? And the reason I bring this up is because as we're getting into the practice, right, it's important to get a couple of wins under our belt, right? It's important to feel as though we're making some progress. It's important to feel as though there's something that's working here, right? And the trouble with this work, right? The one sort of downside of this, or the sort of challenge inherent in this work, is that while your brain is going to experience neuroplasticity, there's been experiments done and studies done that show about 20 minutes a day for as little as 8 weeks is already starting to show signs of neuroplastic changes in your brain, right? But that doesn't mean that you're going to necessarily feel anything different. It doesn't mean that you're going to necessarily, you know, see some kind of evidence of that, right? The only way you see the evidence is in how you react and respond to things in your life. That's when you're going to notice, like, whoa, this is the practice, right? And again, this can happen very quickly. I mean, some people within a week's time, they see evidence, and that's great, right? But what about the people who don't? That's who I'm worried about. And those are the ones who I'm talking to here, right? Because sometimes you don't, right? I didn't see evidence for years in some respects, right? It's not something that necessarily becomes evident again, right? In the same way that, like, okay, so you go to the gym, right? Or you start a diet, and you get on the scale in the morning, you see, okay, I lost 4 pounds. Look, that feels great, right? Now I'm inspired to not have that bowl of ice cream tonight because I've already lost 4 pounds. I don't want to undo anything I've done, right? So, similar to the gym, you go to the gym for a couple weeks, you start seeing in the mirror, you start seeing some difference in the way you look. That inspires you. Go back to the gym, keep going, keep going, keep going, right? So it's a little different with these practices, right? You don't necessarily get that thing. Now, it comes eventually. It does, for sure, for everyone. But that's a variable, right? And it's a variable that is dependent on many different factors, right? How much time you're putting into it, how much emotion you're investing into this, where you were starting, how stress, how extreme your stress was compared to somebody else who maybe was not extreme, right? What it is you're looking to achieve, right? In terms of, like, if it's just overall performance, well, that's going to be a little bit of a longer, you're not going to see that kind of evidence. But yelling at somebody less, that could be very much quicker, right? That could be done within like a week or two, right? Like we start seeing effects, right? So the point that I'm trying to make here, right, is that we got to approach the practice in a way that allows for some feelings of accomplishment, okay? And so what that means is setting smaller goals, okay? Because the thing is, it feels really good in your brain and in your body chemistry. It feels really good to accomplish a goal, okay? And so if you set a goal of, 20 minutes of meditation every day for the next month, that's a hard goal to achieve. Now, the harder the goal, the bigger the reward, of course. Yeah, I mean, you're going to feel, if you accomplish that whole month, you're going to, at the end of the month, feel like, whoa, man, I kicked that project's butt. I got this goal, like, huge goal. That feels good, right? But the problem is that doing 20 minutes from a standstill, from 0 to 20 minutes a day for 30 days, I mean, if you get me 100 people who promise to do that, and you put a gun to my head and said you have to pick, a bet on how many people actually do it, I'm thinking maybe 5 of them, maybe 5 out of 100 are going to complete that goal flawlessly. Meaning that every single day for 30 days they did the 20 minutes, right? So that's 5%, right? So, I mean, that means that if I got 5 people who feel like, all right, I'm good, and I got 95 people who think like, oh, this just isn't for me. I guess it's not the kind of thing that I can do. Maybe I can't even accomplish anything in my life. If I can't even do this, what's wrong with me? Gosh, I'm terrible. Now my stress is even worse. Right? So don't look at it in terms of a month at 20 minutes a day. I mean, if you can wind up doing that, beautiful. Do it. right? But set the intention to do 1 minute a day for a day, right? Even 1 minute a day might be too much for you. Just think about 3 mindful breaths every day, right? Again, just 3 mindful breaths today. And then tomorrow you wake up, say, I'm going to intend to do 3 mindful breaths today. All right? Again, maybe it's not even because again, for people who are you know, one of the things about trauma and meditation is something we have to be very careful of, right? Because when you're in meditation, it's just you and those thoughts, right? And so for a lot of people, that can become very overwhelming. It can become re-traumatizing very quickly. Okay, so if that's you, then don't even think about doing even 3 mindful breaths. Instead, you can look at, I just assigned one of my clients, open every door with your opposite hand, or brush your teeth every morning with your opposite hand, right? Something as simple as that. But again, I even just broke my own rule. Like, don't think of every morning, just think about today. I'm going to open every door with my opposite hand, which means that I'm going to have to be intentional about opening every door I open today. Every time I'm intentional about doing something, that is a moment of mindfulness. Okay? And if I can do that here and there throughout the day, it starts, again, the goal, the result is going to be the same as somebody who just does formal meditation, but it's always going to take a different amount of time. It's going to be a different, sort of process, but eventually you can get there. Now, of course, the idea is that if somebody opens the door with their opposite hand and they wind up doing that consistently every day, well, okay, now we'll add something else, right? Now, washing dishes mindfully. Just really pay attention to washing the dishes. Now, every morning when you get dressed, look at the label in your shirt, and it says this was made in, Bangladesh. Now picture the person in Bangladesh and picture them picture them with the eyes of compassion. Not hard, is it? It doesn't take any woo-woo meditation, levitation, anything, right? It's very simple. It doesn't take much time either, right? And so the point, that's the value that I bring here, right? Because over the last 10 years, I have cultivated so many of these different practices. I have hundreds of them. And I know that I have one that can fit you. So come to our meeting. Okay. Hopefully we're going to start in a week or two. But email me and let me know that you're interested, because it's really going to help me if I know that I got a few people looking to show up. Right now, I have one, and so that's just a one-on-one coaching thing. I do that all the time, so I want to get more people in this and there's a specific reason for that, right? Because so many of the clients who I work with, right, they become discouraged because they feel like, well, I'm just not doing as well as I thought I was going to do, right? So it's really helpful if you have 2 other people in a group who also feel like they're not doing as well as they thought they were going to do, right? Because now it feels like, okay, I fit, I'm here, and in isolation, we don't get that sense. All I can do is tell you, oh, no, there's lots of clients who have that. People are going to believe that, half believe it, maybe believe it, right? But if you're in a group and you hear the words and you see the difficulty, in your compadres here, well, then it's going to feel on a visceral level, you're going to understand it. All right. So email me at art@artburnscoaching. Let me know if this is something you're interested in. I will be making more announcements, and soon I'll be sending out an invitation. But I would really love to know if anybody's interested. All right, everybody. Have a great day. I wish you well. I'll be back in tomorrow. Take care.